Welcome back. You're watching Morning Express here on KTN, and today, being a Thursday, we are looking at the state of the nation and paying attention to security in particular in the country. Do you call it security or insecurity?
I think we should stay with insecurity. It's much more relevant.
Yes. And well, in case you want to contribute to the show, you remember you can also call us and speak to some of our guests, and you can use the hashtag state of security. Yes, state of insecurity, actually. That's what we're sticking to, just like James Smart mentioned. So joining us in studio this morning are very intelligent guests here, well-informed in matters security in the country today.
And ladies, gentlemen, karibuni sana.
Good morning.
All right. We want to welcome you to the show, and we're going to start off, from the top going down. But first,
well, let me introduce our guests. We have Peter Atavachi, who is the head of operations in Nairobi, and we also have Mwenda Mbijiwe, who is a security expert seated at the center, and at the extreme left we have Francis Maina, who is also a security expert. Thank you both all for joining us on the show today. I'll start with Francis. Francis, what do you think, or what do you make out of the different spates of insecurity in the country today?
Yes, good morning. The spate of insecurity in this country first has been brought by the constitution issue of, like, everybody has the freedom to do exactly what you want. You have the right to dash to court and get a bond to stop being arrested. And you have also the right to go to court and stop any prosecution. Then two, also the political tone. It seems that a crime committed, it's taken over by the clan or the community to shield the criminal or the evildoers. And to me, that has been the biggest impediment. You go to you go to Wajir, you go to Mandela, it becomes a clan, but one person fired the first bullet. You go to Ramu, it's clanism. You go to each and every direction, Baragoi, you go to Turkana, it's Turkana versus the Pokot. To me, I believe the issue of individual responsibility, you as Francis Minor versus the Republic of Kenya on a criminal offense of robbery with violence, cattle hosting, or mass murder. So to me, I believe the issue of constitution and the other issue of socialism and criminal socialism, trying to socialize that we as KTN, rather than you as an individual who work in KTN. KTN has no criminal offense committed against the people. It is you as an individual. So that is my personal opening point of view, that we need to get out of this so that we target individual people and they have to pay the consequences of their criminal activity.
Right.
Well, I completely agree with my brother, especially on the point of, where we make it a corporate issue, especially when, we have to address insecurity and then people run to their communities for defense. However, I also feel that our current security situation is largely contributed to by our minimal societal participation in security matters. Kenya, unlike most nations in the region, Kenyans, because we've really basically grown in a very secure nation, most of us, almost everyone in this generation has grown up in a country where there was peace. We hardly think it matters for me to be involved in matters security, and we leave that to government, and particularly, the armed or the disciplined forces. So the common mwananchi doesn't see the need to be involved in security. And this is not the case in other countries like Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, South Sudan, where everyone feels, hey, this is my country. If there's a problem here, I can fix it, I can report. In a country like Rwanda, almost everyone you meet is part of the intelligence system. If you mess up, they'll tell on you. And so maybe the wananchi in Kenya now need to realize, hey, if we don't do something about insecurity, if we don't become part and parcel of the system that protects our security, then we are fostering insecurity.
Okay, Atavachi.
Thank you. Security of Kenya is the responsibility of every Kenyan. And therefore, I believe public participation in security matters is key. What is lacking, I'll confine myself to Nairobi County, is that full participation of the public in security matters. As far as Nairobi County is concerned, insecurity level has not gone out of that hand that we can say there is insecurity. The level of insecurity that is in Nairobi County is manageable. Therefore, the need for the public to participate. The public has not come out fully, willingly, to participate and join the police in the fight against crime.
All right, gentlemen, that is, was interesting. I mean, that's why I kept back to listen to, where all of you think our problem comes from. But let's talk about, get specifics. From 2010, when we got into Somalia, and we got there for reasons, best known to us. Our tourists, as we're told then, were being abducted left, right, and center, and it was causing an economic problem for us. 2010. Today, we've had over 90 grenades, IEDs, shootings, and cases in this republic. Our security situation has completely deteriorated compared to today and 4 years ago. That's the state of this security and the state of the nation today. Now, has our economy improved since making that good decision for us to get in Somalia? And most importantly, we're not going to say that these individuals who have been involved in handling security matters for us have performed, or it's time for us to look at other means and ways to make it work? Let me start with you, Mr. Mbiju.
Well, interesting. Sunday evening, on Sunday, there was a grenade attack in Arusha, and on Monday, there was a second grenade attack in Arusha. That made it a total of 4, counting for me, from 1998, Dar es Salaam twin attack of the US Embassy that happened at the same time with the Nairobi Embassy. So 98, sometime late last year, there was a grenade attack on a Catholic church, and 2 more this weekend, so total 4. Now you ask yourself the question, did Tanzania send their troops to the AMISOM force in Somalia? No. Now, the narrative that we have our problems because our troops are in Somalia is actually a terrorist narrative that has been crafted and so smartly fed to our minds.
But what is our narrative?
And ourselves, before I come to our narrative, we took that hook, line, and sinker, and we are running with the narrative of the terrorists that Kenya is being, bashed and hit left, right, and center by terrorists because you are in Somalia. Point of correction. Kenya is not in Somalia as KDF. No. Kenya is in Somalia as part of the African Union peacekeeping force, otherwise called AMISOM. Withdrawing, the Kenyan troops in Somalia are not under the direct command of the CDF, the Chief of Defense Forces here. No, they are under the direct command of the African Union mission, or rather headquarters in Addis Ababa. So we need to look at our narrative. What should our narrative be? It's exactly what you started with. The terrorists were affecting our economy. The truth is, and I agree with you to a large extent, actually the tourism that we wanted to protect by going to crossing the border to Somalia, I don't think we have achieved much of that on the immediate. But actually we are laying structures and foundation that will eventually protect not only our tourism, but our nation in the long run. Because we can't say, hey, let's pull out and so tourists can be protected. Whether we're in Somalia or not, these people will hit us. The Tanzania example is a good example. They are hitting Tanzania, they are hitting everywhere. These people don't do it because you're in their country, they do it because it's their trade, and they can execute that mission anywhere in the world.
There's a very interesting issue of the KDF in Mogadishu. the issue of the African forces in Mogadishu was a UN resolution tried to stabilize the greater Somalia after a spell of more than 2 decades of civil war and small functional groups and infighting of clans. So the issue that started was not because of Kenya. It is because the world needed to stabilize Somalia, because Somalia was becoming a heaven of terrorism after the US invaded Afghanistan and the NATO. So the criminals from the Al-Qaeda affiliated groups moved out from Peshawar, Pakistan to Mogadishu to Kismayu. And you see, to them, what they need is an unstable country where they can do their trade. So the issue of KDF being in Somalia and the issue of terrorism being in Kenya, there are so many other countries in the world who are experiencing terrorism, not because they have sent troops to any United Nations peacekeeping force, but because terrorism of Al-Qaeda is the 21st century new wave of terrorizing the international community. In the 70s, in the 80s, in the 60s, we had the Palestinian organizations, we had the Red Army, we had the Baader-Meinhof of Germany. These are organized criminal groups which, to them, they believe on, terrorizing people. In Japan, in the 90s, we had an organization, a cult, which was gassing people in underground tunnels, and that is a part of war on terror. So it is us, we as Kenyans, to come up with a serious security, comprehensive and intelligence apparatus to stop these groups of terrorists going to Somalia. And to my own initiative, instead of us withdrawing, we should be more vigilant.
Can we say that what we have right now, the structures we have right now, is not working? Can we just get over that point?
Yes, the structures we have, our problem is our national intelligence services. It is not up to date. It is a political intelligence agency. It was diluted in the 90s because of the fear of the Mokenya, the Mokenyan crackdown, the 60s, the Soviet, the East, the West. So now what we need now to do is to bring up a national intelligence agency which has got the teeth. And the way to do that, instead of these senior police officers who are being cut off from the REC unit, the special forces from the armed forces, we need to put them, we need to pipe them to the National Intelligence Agency so that they are able to go and deal with the threat rather than getting smart officers like you and me just writing a note that we can be attacked in Hindi and what have you. We need to send these people as a head team to go and do the intelligence collection, distribution, and also to extinguish that threat. Because until we have an intelligence agency which can be able to counter threat, to counter stop the threats facing our country, and waiting for the backup of Syria's police and armed forces support, we are heading nowhere, because most of what we are reporting is that we might be hit in Mombasa, then we are hit. By the time the officer who is here, like the operation officer in Mombasa, tries to marshal the troops to go to that place, already the criminals have gone and hit and killed people. So we need to have a very serious, organized national intelligence services, and that can only be done by the parliament. The people who are asleep in this security threat in this country is the parliamentarians.
Correct.
These police officers cannot operate without a law.
Correct.
And the law must be enforced. It must work. The OP must be given the tools of work. They are called the tools. They are not even called the laws. They are tools of work. This officer has the right to hold somebody incommunicado as a terrorist for a month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, like the Guantanamo. Because people must be protected. And the biggest business of the government is to protect the citizens and to protect the property of the citizens.
Right. Articles 238 and 239 of the Constitution, I'm sure, do address that, where they say that the National Police Service, the Kenya Defense Forces, and the National Intelligence Service have the responsibility to protect Kenya and Kenyans, and also their rights, freedoms, property, peace, stability, and also prosperity. But all of that aside, what we're seeing increasingly in Kenya today is domestic insecurity, let alone the fact that we are seeing Al-Shabaab claiming some of these attacks. We're also seeing an increased cases of insecurity, different spades of insecurity. Just recently, a Russian tourist was shot dead by unknown attackers. And we're seeing the same thing happening in maybe different parts of Nairobi. But then what do we say is the problem? If we are dealing with terror on one side and we're also dealing with domestic insecurity on the other, where exactly is the problem? Because these rates or these spades of insecurity seem to be on the increase in the recent past.
Thank you. Terrorism is global. That is why I believe it has no bearing to the presence of KDF in Somalia. We have had experiences of terrorism activities long before even KDF went to Somalia. In the early 90s, we have had acts of terrorism in the country. By then, there was no KDF in Somalia. The issue that we should focus on as a country is to enhance our mechanism in fighting terrorism, which we have done. On several occasions, we have, through intelligence, managed to foil some of the terrorist activities in the country. And in that direction, we believe we are on the right track in the fight against terrorism. We cannot shift blame to anybody.
But what would you say about the attacks on locals themselves? I give an example of the Russian tourist who was shot dead. Those were not terrorists in this case. They were known gunmen. Up until today, the search still continues to find who exactly was behind them.
Every region in this country has got its own challenges in security, and I won't comment on something that has happened in Mombasa. I'll confine myself to Nairobi County.
And really, just to quickly, add what my brother Francis said, I think our biggest security problem right now is not even Olelenku, like everyone else is saying. It doesn't matter who heads our security system. If Parliament and the Senate does not do their job in the law, even if we removed Olelenku and put Francis, or removed that one and put my brother over there, it doesn't matter who is at the top. If there are no laws working, since Westgate, I hope to see Parliament and Senate having passed certain laws that would empower our security apparatus.
What laws do you have in mind?
Like the intelligence, for example. They don't arrest until now. What our intelligence do is exactly what you would do if you are the one spotting a terrorist or a criminal. You would see the terrorist preparing some bombs and grenades. You say, okay, hold on, terrorist, I'm going to report to the police, and then they'll come and arrest you. In between, the guy is not stupid. He ducks, he goes away. We need to empower our intelligence system, the NIS, with arresting powers. This thing of fear that they will become a special branch. Remember the dreaded special branch? And by the way, maybe it's time we resurrect the ghost of Mr. Kanyotu, the dreaded intelligence sir. That gentleman knew something about intelligence that maybe we need to learn from him. I would challenge officers that worked with Kanyotu to be bold, even to write books, and tell this country what Kanyotu did to fix our intelligence problems. Because look, in the past, even our national intelligence system was rated among the best in the world, in the class of Mossad, in the class of CIA. I don't think we rate like that anymore. CIA, they arrest you in Africa and they fly you themselves all the way to Guantanamo Bay in the islands of Cuba. But our NIS is still there, and Parliament they are still talking and making big statements in public rallies. I wish they can, take this battle where it exactly belongs in the law. Change the laws, give us workable laws, and make Kenyans feel that the law is made for us, not us made for the law.
All right.
Are we making excuses, for Parliament and politicians and the president and the government? Because it appears that they don't know this. This is new information that is just coming straight, that they have no idea what to do.
No, I think they know. They are just not doing it.
Why are they not doing it? Because that's the question.
Ask them. You have the camera. Ask them. They are watching you now.
No,
Well,
you see,
gentlemen, I think we'll discuss that in just a short while when we return from this commercial break. So we'll be back. By the way, not to forget, we are using the SMS line 22155, and also our hashtag on Twitter is State of Insecurity. And you can also give us a phone call and speak or ask a question to any of our guests that we have today in studio. Do stay with us. Welcome back. It's Morning Express, and today we are discussing, of course, the state of insecurity in the country at the moment with the fresh attacks that did come out from Lamu and Tana River counties, and also just the month before we did see attacks in Peketoni that left quite a number of people dead, and we are discussing that this morning. But let's go through some of your SMSs. Angelo is saying, find causes of insecurity and solve problems. 1, create jobs. 2, reduce the prices of all essential food, water, electricity, power in all cities, provide boost to health. We need honest services. In general, do not create poverty, because poverty creates insecurity. And I wish someone here is saying there's a big problem of insecurity in the country at the moment, and this morning it doesn't make a difference. And now
let me just get one for you. Say it's funny. The panel say the public don't participate, but when you call the police, you are the first suspect. To them, they will harass you and send a second, they will come 3 hours late. Okay.
3 hours late.
That is the public. You know, say, if we call the police and say, I've seen a grenade here, you're the first suspect. One, you know. And secondly, Mr. Vash, just have a quick response for you from it.
I don't think that is a position. That is the correct position of the crowd, because, you see, when you report something, police cannot start investigating without starting from you, to give that much needed information that they want to lead them.
So I call the first thing that I would do is me, I would be there.
And I think the caller is living in the past, because that is not the present police we have.
It's not the present police we have,
yes.
But let's just give a scenario of what happened in the coastal region. You know, we've seen areas where a police station has been attacked, and these attackers seem to have planned the attacks so well that they even know how many cars a certain police station has, how many guns they might be having, or how many radio calls they might be having. So if the first thing they do is burn the vehicle, then they know that they've crippled the police. So if somebody reports and says there's an attack somewhere, definitely if there's one car at a certain police station, then it's going to take forever before they can get a response from the police.
You see, such like an attack, you see, like I said, public participation in police, in security matters is key. The attackers are our own people. Therefore, the issue of knowing the number of vehicles in the police station is not so hard for them to know, because they are their own people who are doing that. And therefore, with the participation of the public, giving out the information that there is an attack that is being planned, then that could have been easily been prevented. But because our public, the people, our Kenyans are not willingly supportive in way of giving information to the police, then that is how we found ourselves in such a situation that we operate from very limited information gathered through our own intelligence mechanism.
Because, Mr. Ravashi, the problem is that you say, today I would call you and tell you, I've seen something that is suspicious, you know, and if I tell you who I am, number one, like you said, I become the first suspect. You start investigating me immediately.
No, I didn't say you become the first suspect, no. By starting from you to give us that information does not necessarily that you have become a suspect.
You're an informant.
By asking a question, where did you see this, does not make you a suspect.
Well,
you see, I would like to correct that issue of intelligence. If you look at the police station in Peketoni, the way it was attacked, either there was no policeman or they melted away like the Iraqi soldiers, because there was no fireworks. I don't expect the police station to have been burned after they had stolen the armory. There should have been a fireworks between the police officers and and the attackers. So there is a bit of being very honest, very, very honest. There is a bit of laxity, and also there is a serious issue of intelligence selling. People benefit from intelligence, Because if we were told there had been raised that issue of Mpeketoni, and people knew, even journalists were being told not to go to Ramu, it was dangerous. So the people, there are some espionage sort of to my own agreement, in my own conscience, that some of the officers within, Kenyan officers within Lamu, they sold the intelligence to the attackers. Because if you look at the way the police station was burned and the way the attack was so horrible, I would have expected a maximum of 10 policemen killed in that attack, because it was a serious firefight, unless the police station was burned after the ammo and the weapons have been stolen, or the strong room of the weapons has been opened. And this issue of people going to the police cell and opening and killing people, and you get only one police officer killed, it raises a very red flag, and I'm being very honest. I believe on being honest. You see, it is kind and honest for you people as police officers to be honest to yourself that the moment you let criminals pass through, whether they are local terrorism or international terrorists, they can also go kill your brothers and your sisters. We must share the burden. If you go to the east of Afghanistan, the American troops are based in Kandahar and Kuna province. The biggest outpost is in Khost. It is not a military installation. It is a CIA installation, which gives the military the backup of what is happening in Peshawar, in Waziristan. They are able to track with the drones what is happening. They give the military officers the direction to go to attack the Taliban. And you see, they understand the people who behind them, they wear the uniform of United States. So they need clear protection and a precise, accurate direction of where the criminals are. Now, in Ramu, unless the reservist was hit because he just came out from the house and he had no information, very few police officers even recorded a statement. Me, if I go there, I am very confident that station was attacked, was burned after the stealing of our hard-bought weapons and ammunitions through our taxes. So there is still some very little question to be asked from the OCS, from the OCPD. Who did this, and how does it come that 50 people can come in, attack the whole station, and there is no firepower?
Right. Mwenda, I would like to hear from you. For instance, with what happened in Lamu and Tana River counties, in one of the counties they say that the attack happened somewhere around 11:30, and then by the time the security organs did show up, or security forces showed up, that was about 1 a.m. In the morning, or the wee hours of the morning. What do you make out of the situation in regard to the time that a case is reported and the time that the security forces show up?
Well, one time I saw a video that I participated in making, from a different television station, of a mock bomb that journalists like yourself left outside the Hilton, and the same journalists called the police, the command center or the control center, and said there's a bomb. And from 1 up to 4 o'clock, the police had not showed up. And that is not in Lamu. That is in Nairobi. We don't have bad roads in Nairobi. And, expect efficiency. And at 4, when the journalist finally called the police, the gentleman had the guts to tell the journalist, we already sent someone there. And the camera was focusing on the bag that they left outside the Hilton Hotel. I think our police, and going back to what the director of operations in Nairobi here said, I think the police are changing, but there are certain officers personally who have still one of their foot in the past. Yes, the new police service, not the police force, is actually supposed to change the approach to dealing with the public. I know the officers, for example, have been doing a lot of capacity building to dealing with issues like, sexual violence. They have gender units and sexual violence units where they train those officers how to address people who come and report they've been, sexually defiled. Not like, we see Inspector Mwala, the show saying, kwani ulijipatiana kwa hawa? Or are you the one offering yourself? So the officers are more humane in handling, certain issues, and they're building their capacity. But that building of capacity should be faster and quicker so that the police respond to our current issues in a more humane way, in a more professional way than for you to call smart and then they make you the first suspect. That ulikuwa sangapi, were you there? And the questions they ask you make you feel, I had no business reporting. In fact, a lot of Kenyans don't even report anything, even when they see it, because they don't want to go through the grilling. You'll be put through a grilling that they'll come close to beating you if they don't beat you. So the question of response, I think our police still need to be enhanced and given more capacity. And now that we have an officer here, I wouldn't like the officer to feel like we are bashing him. We are not speaking against police. We are speaking for the police. The officers don't buy their uniform. They don't buy their helicopters. They don't buy their guns. The taxpayer and our leaders ought to lead in doing this for the officer.
Right.
If you call the police in the middle of the night and say there are 50 gunmen or a bunch of gunmen killing us here in Hindi, they are human beings. They'll be like, man, do I go and kill them with my hands? Do I go and stop them with bare hands? We don't give these people specialized equipment. We don't give them night vision goggles. We don't give them, helicopters for quick response. How do you expect them to go to a remote village in Meru County or in Lamu County from Nairobi or from the nearest police station with the Land Rovers and on roads that are completely impassable?
Right.
We need to look at the operational capacity of the police than to blame them that they took 10 hours to come. Sometimes they don't have the capacity to come.
Operational capacity. We have some callers on the line, and we have Bashir from Isli. Bashir, good morning, and kindly share your views.
Okay. Good morning, you newsmen and gentlemen who are there.
Good morning.
I want to talk just a few things. Two or three things. So, one of the things I wanted to correct Mr. Ambidue is that as far as knew when the KDF was going to Somalia, it never contacted any UN, or it was not in any mission by that time. They just went for a country that has been maybe attacked 1 or 2 times. That's why they went there. After they were there for some time, they joined the AU. So there was no consultation of any view that Kenyans or any parliament or anywhere that we want to take our forces there. How do you see? That's the first thing I want to tell you. Okay, the other thing is, I think it was 2 days or 2 days or 3 days ago, the parliament of Mogadishu was attacked. And that's a small, fragile state of Somalia. The president sacked the security chiefs. That's what I'm seeing in the KTN at the bottom. So I don't see the reason why the president should keep these security men. If that small state, upcoming state, that there was a war zone that is changing its security because of some laxity, I don't see the president why he should spare those people. The second thing, according to the way I know and I've read, I'm not a security expert, but when Americans invaded Iraq, they invaded for a time, and they were having a timeline withdrawal. We never saw any timeline withdrawal of the AU forces. If you're saying the Kenyans joined the AU forces, we're never seeing the timeline. We're never seeing that you are staying 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So these people are just seeing these people they're occupiers of their land, and the majority, 100% of the people, they are Muslims there. They're fighting for themselves even. Leave about even. What they are saying that they are being attacked by another non-Muslim country. That's what they are saying.
Well, thanks a lot, Bashir. We do appreciate the call. We also have Joshua, who is calling us in and would like to make a contribution. Calling from?
Good morning, madam and gentlemen. Hello?
Yes, good morning. Where are you calling from?
This is Nairobi.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to address the officer seated there. He's talking about public participation to security. But I think he needs to understand one thing. The gap between his officers on the ground and the public, it's so huge that the police cannot get the information required from the public. My personal experience is so bad, particularly with traffic policemen who go around frustrating people around. Even people boarding matatus don't like to see a policeman on the road because they believe that the police finally are not up to the crime itself. So you find that the public are not free to provide the information required to the policemen for policemen to take the necessary action.
Well, thanks a lot, Joshua.
So the most important thing is they should, first of all, change their attitude towards the public so that the public can be free to deal with them and finally harvest the information that will be very, very important to them. Thank you.
We do appreciate that's Joshua right there. But, you know, I'll get back to Officer Peter. You know, what happened on Monday, we did see police officers deployed in large numbers at the Sabasaba rally. And for that, we'd actually say, good job done. But how about you do the same thing when it comes to deploying officers all across the CBD or all across the county to make sure that security is maintained in Nairobi County, for instance?
In my response to that, I will say the number of officers you saw during the Sabasaba rally are the normal numbers that we have on the ground. The only difference is that we concentrated so much on the rally and other identified areas within the county. Otherwise, that number, in the view of the public, will say it was heavy, but that was just a fraction of the strength we have on the ground. Though we concentrated on one part of the county and other identified parts that we thought were necessary at that time. The numbers you saw are still on the ground, though in identified and selected areas. So the presence is still there and it is continuous.
Right.
To respond to the concern by the caller who said the gap between the policeman on the ground and the community is so big. We have gone ahead and created a mechanism through community policing concept and recently the Michikumi concept, where the composition of that community policing committees is the public themselves. A forum where they're allowed to volunteer information if they so fear the policemen. So it is not very hard for the public to give that much needed information to the police if they so wish. There is that mechanism if they don't necessarily wish to give it to a policeman.
Great.
So that gap is not there as such.
Okay, and the first caller, that was Bashir from Isli, also talked about the fact that we're not firing the people who are not performing their duties. But why do you think it's taking long for our government to even let go of some of these people who are not doing their job, Francis?
You see, Madam, the basic issue is an OCS who covers a station. Crime skyrocket, and the best can be done for him is a transfer to another place to go and cause the same havoc. And I want to be very honest and very sincere. You get in a police station within the jurisdiction of an OCS. There are border borders, there are taxis which are not even registered. He knows them. They are Chang'ar dens. He knows them, and he corrects, extortion racket within the whole perimeter. So to me, I have always said supervision makes perfect. For us to supervise the police officers who are paid through the taxpayers' money, it's important that your promotion depends on the security on the ground. If you don't perform in a police station like Pangani, the only transfer you can get is to send you home. It is only in this country whereby we have very few jobs and very, very difficult employees, people who are employed even in the civil service, who presume they are indispensable. It is time now that we train our people, even the police officers, security agents, that they understand they work under our own contract, and Kenyans have the right to demand for them either to go or to deliver. You cannot be in a place like Central, then when you go out in the street, there is nobody, and there are officers who are assigned, then you get them harassing Matatu in the stage in the evening, when women like you and men, they are being snatched, their wallets and their phones, just at the corner, at the alley. So it is very cruel that the operations director is here, that what people are asking for is supervision. You need to bring down companies like Safaricom, companies like KTN, Standard Group. The reason why you see them, they're doing well, there is a real supervision. Jim Smart cannot refuse to come to work. He'll be fired. You see, you get police officers in station. Sometimes they are drunk. Sometimes they are not even attending to anybody. They have their own deals. It is prudent and important that they understand they are employed by the Kenyans who pay taxes, and Kenyans are demanding the security. They are not requesting, they demand. On the issue of organized criminal gangs around this country, I would like to talk like Mungiki and the rest. How you as a Kenyan, standing here outside Mombasa Road, ask for 100 shillings for 3 cars. The 4th car will be a police officer, and you had curfew. The whole money which was being extorted from the matatus and what have you, it ended up in officers' pockets. The people behind organized crimes in the whole world, in so many of the cities and in so many of the other countries, you have to get, there is a security officer who has given the leeway, the go-ahead. If you go to Kabete, like the OCS Rere, he's completely wiped out criminals in Kabete because he does not share any discussion until his officers agree to serve Kenyans directly and stop having a side business with people who have criminal elements and people who have committed crimes. You know, people still demand, and they still write very bad issues about police officers. And I'm talking from experience. If I give you my personal experience and my friends, cars have been stolen, taken to other countries. You go to try to track them, you get the person who is releasing the suspect is the same officer you reported the matter.
All right, Vijay.
Yeah. There was a caller from, I think it's Lee Bashir.
Yes,
he
Bashir.
also talked about KDF and Somalia. I don't really like the tone of Bashir, and I'm not asking him to dislike mine, but he seems not to really appreciate the sacrifice our troops made for that country. I don't know if Bashir has any direct connections to that country, but really, he seems to say we went as KDF, then metamorphosed into AMISOM. Yes, that is known. But somebody should also realize this. Somalia had become an endemic global problem, which actually even frustrated the best of the nations like United States. They went in Mogadishu to 1993, and they had their helicopters, shot down in the heart of Mogadishu, and their soldiers killed and dragged around the city. And Kenya did what everyone else avoided doing for 20 years. Kenya went in, and we didn't just walk in. KDF invoked United Nations Charter, clauses that allowed a nation to go across the border of another nation to pursue criminal elements who are making life difficult in their nation. That's what we did. And as we went on, United Nations and everyone else appreciated what Kenya had done and actually felt this is a golden chance. Now, big nations like UK have opened an embassy in Mogadishu. China just the other day opened an embassy in Mogadishu. That doesn't sound like an international community that does not appreciate what African Union mission, or rather forces have done in Somalia. That sounds like an international community that is already gratified and happy with what Kenya has done.
Right.
So I asked Bashir to support that young nation. We need to help Somalia become a stable country so that we don't have terrorist attacks at the parliament like we are having, or at the presidential palace like there was this last week. So we need to be able to support that country. And I ask people like Bashir, next time when they make a phone call, first of all start by lauding the KDF for the work they did there.
Indeed.
Well, we're still continuing this conversation, and I would like to just go on the phones for the very last time and pick the views of our viewers who are watching us. Collins, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What are your thoughts this morning, Collins?
I'm calling you from Nairobi.
Yes.
I've been listening to this conversation since you guys started, and I'm a little bit perturbed with the kind of insecurity we've been having in the country. My main concern is that, yes, there is insecurity. We all have to agree on this. This is part and parcel of the problem of the country currently. But now, when we look at the discussions we've been having since the entire insecurity started from Westgate, then to Mpeketoni, Lamu, we've come to realize there's a lot of too much talking, and we are leaving the most important thing that we are supposed to be doing by getting the information from the ground, rather than going to get, rather than acting. So we've realized that either one side will say that security is sleeping on their job, or maybe we can say maybe somebody is trying to politicize the security in the country. Because now we will find that if you have a house, probably, and somebody comes and strike once, maybe someone comes and beats you in your house once, you realize that this person, when he comes twice and beats you in the same house, then that means that he knows exactly what is in that house, and he knows there's nothing you can do about it. So you realize right now everything has just gone, people talking too much, but there's little that is being done on the ground. And this is a very big concern that needs to be done. Secondly, there is a difference between the security people, the police, and the people. Whereby one of the commentators said earlier that it looks like there is one, if you report something, you become the culprit of the day. And that is happening. That is the fact. We can't say no to it. If there's something can be done about that, you'll realize that there will be a communication between the police and the people. Stanley said something that they've done something about policing. Policing is not what actually we are looking for here. We are looking for something that would bring people together with the police. There's that unity whereby someone can have an information and you take the whatever status and run the entire you run the entire show. You as a police, you get information.
Collins, thank you very much for your contribution. We've got your point. Thank you very much, and have a good morning. Hello, good morning. Do you have another call online?
Hello.
Yes. Who am I speaking to?
Good morning. You're talking with Wainaina.
Yes, Wainaina. What is your concern this morning?
Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to talk. And first and foremost, I am from Kabete, and I understand Mr. Maina knows the scenario around here. Unfortunately, that OCS he is talking about has been transferred. And right now, we are in the hands or in the masses of small bad boys who are opening houses with master keys, and so much nonsense going on. And in fact, from the ground, I understand that the bad boys and the thieves, the local thieves, are celebrating the transfer of that OCS who has been transferred, I don't know where. Yes, he did a lot of good things. He, in fact, had crushed them completely. And another thing, I just Kabete again.
Wainaina,
yep.
hang on. Let me just find out, what is the problem in Kabete?
The Kabete police, they are not responsive enough. They don't respond in the right way. Because another day, it happened to me personally. I witnessed somebody stealing from a house and parking a car just around my place. And when we realized it was a thief, and we tried to organize ourselves, we saw this vehicle called the Dagoretti Patrol. It moves on with police around, all around Dagoretti. We tried to stop them. They didn't. They were chasing after the Matatu to go make money. So that is really disgusting. So what I would urge the officer is that we are not against the police officers. We love the officers very much. And as you are all speaking, you are speaking on their betterment. Please tell them, because they have just confessed that there is no way they can work by themselves. They need the public right here. So let them create an environment. It is for their own benefit and for everyone, so we can work together and give them information.
Wainaina, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. Gentlemen, let's wind this down. Let's start with you, Officer Wanatabachi. You've had, put accumulatively what we've had today. You know, you've had the public, you've had the frustrations, you've had the discussions. What do you make of this?
I want to respond to the caller who has complained about Kapete. Yes, it is true the OCS who was at Kapete was transferred, but not out of Nairobi. He's still in Nairobi, and the officer who is now currently at the Kapete is doing a good job. We have not had any unusual crimes reported in Kapete. Kapete is just as it was when the former OCS was there. The OCS who is at Kapete right now is doing a good job, and there is no much difference from what we used to see when the former OCS was there. We have boot mechanism in place to endear ourselves to the public through community policing and the Mijikume concept. We appeal the public to participate with us to assist them provide security for Kenyans as a whole.
Is it working? Do you feel
Yeah,
the
it
public?
is working. We are changing. There are police reforms, and therefore we have taken reforms positively. Yeah. Yes, we had some problems with the relation between the public and the police. That relationship is now what we are working on, and we believe we have worked on it. Some of the public are working with us very well in terms of security management. Yes.
You're happy with the state of it? You're happy with that?
I'm happy with that because they are now willing to come to us, and we are also going to them for that information. So we're working as one team, and that is the way to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, as the officer said, I think the police are working very hard at the reforms, but I would also want to speak to the rest of my fellow citizens. I know security issues have been a big challenge, especially in the last couple of weeks and months. So big that some of us are growing despondent, some of us are growing, negative. But remember, one of the best nations in the world where security is highly recognized and really super in the world is Israel. The other one is United States. But look at Israel. They've grown in the middle of huge insecurities, But they learned to turn their lemons into lemonade, into their problems into opportunities. And I think where we are as a nation, we have a great opportunity right now to repackage our national security to one of the best in the region. And as a player in the private security, personally, I look forward to days when we will put schools, security schools in this country, and people come from all over Africa and the world to study here, because Kenya will have become a success in security issues. I know we may not have answers immediately, but the structures that are being implemented slowly, like the government just put 180 billion shillings into different players of the security industry, NIS, military, police, almost 180 billion. That is big money. If this money is administered well, and next year we see another budgetary allocation, in the next, say, 10, 20 years...
But the money has never been a problem, Israel. We've always allocated money.
No, we've never had enough. Like today now, the papers are saying the police have just been given a medical cover. That's the first time. We've never had police officers walking up somewhere to be treated. An officer got sick, and either if he didn't have money to go to hospital, he slept in his room waiting to recover. Now he can go to hospital, and that boosts his morale and will work better for us. So let's hope as a nation. And in such times as this, it's not time to blame caste, point at Ole Lenku and say Lenku should be fired. Look, Lenku is never a problem, and I'm glad CORD realized that, and they stopped the firefight. They were focusing on Lenku. The problem is not Lenku. The problem is the entire system, which I think over time may get some change. However, I remain optimistic. I'm one of the most hopeful Kenyans, and I remain in the 2002 index. Kenya is the most hopeful nation. I'm still very hopeful Kenyan. I think so get better.
Francis, final thoughts?
Thank you very much. My closing remarks is very, very simple. First and foremost, we need to work with extreme urgency the issue of national intelligence collection, distribution, analyzation, and effecting the intelligence, and also arming our national intelligence officers. On the issue of homegrown terrorism, we need to work very fast and do what we call forensic audits on officers who are being vetted. Because you get some points, officers become more richer than the state, which if you go to Israel, if you go to America, you get FBI senior field officers. They only earn a salary. Here we got officers who work in special offices. They have so much investment. An officer is worth $1 million. That is about 90 million. So you see, these officers, they don't work for the country. So it is important we call it off, and we make sure that we are going to a new phase whereby we are able to differentiate who will be working for us and who should go home, so that we start afresh. On the issue of the office of the president, I think these people, they realize they want support. They want work to be done. They don't want to fail. If you look at Sabasaba, they were very well organized. They had one commander of Inspector General. It is important.
We have no problem when it comes to politics. It's very well covered in politics and also the president.
I'm just saying.
In normal crime, that is where the problem is.
I'm saying, if you look at the commanding officer of the administration, Police Alachi, he's on the ground and to what is reported, he's doing a good job, but he's getting some firefight from the politicians, whom, to me, I would request the DPP to put in some cases against politicians who are talking about a case which is in the court, in the due process, so that people understand to give the police also the space to do the investigation, to arrest and to take people to court. Once you are not guilty, like Francis, you be set free. And once you're set free, I mean, people can talk about your case, because we have a serious problem of politicking on every death of this country. The last and not least, it is important to modify our security agents with the latest mode of equipment. Like now in Ram, we would be having armored vehicles, mobile command post, helicopters with night vision, vehicles mounted with night vision, helicopters with night vision and 105mm caliber with Hellfire missiles that can be able to take on these rat cruisers ferrying these criminals around. You see, and this can be done not by the army. You know, we need to get KDF out of the national,
but
the
haven't
internal
we
security.
said this over and over again? You know, we've said this a number of times. You've actually come here.
No, I think they are
every
listening
time
now.
there's an attack in the country, you know, we bring in analysts, terror experts, security experts, and they talk about what needs to be done, where the problem is, and how these problems can be corrected. And we still
I think
have the same
what we have lacked before, let me quickly add to my brothers, is also